Welcome to today's UBC Talks webinar from Risk to Resilience. Across the Baltic Sea region, our municipalities are facing increasingly frequent storms, floods, heat waves, other climate-related disruptions that directly affect people's safety, people's health, and daily lives. But resilience is not only about infrastructure or emergency plans. It is, of course, about people. And cities are better at crisis preparedness when residents understand risks, they can trust local authorities, and they know how to act together when disruptions occur. And at today's webinar, we will discover how to achieve it in practice. My name is Maria Andreeva. I'm a communications coordinator at the Union of the Baltic Cities Sustainable Cities Commission. I will be your host for the next 90 minutes. And maybe a couple of words about us, if this is your first UBC Talks edition. So UBC stands for the Union of the Baltic Cities, the leading city network in the region. The network established back in 1991. We work in practice through 8 thematic commissions focusing on different sides to the city life. And our commission is called Sustainable Cities for a reason. We have been hosted by the city of Turku now for 30 years, and we have been consistently working on providing different platforms for city exchange, like these webinars, and boosting the topical work, which in this decade is very much centered on climate. All the webinars from the UBC Talk series are actually available on our website. This is not the first webinar, and this is not going to be the last. And now we have about 30 editions on a rich variety of climate and sustainability topics. So make sure to check them out and find your source of inspiration. Coming to the topic of today, we will be talking about inclusive citizen engagement into climate resilience. By involving citizens early and meaningfully, cities can build stronger communities that are better prepared for climate risks, but not only, of course, also for other unexpected crises, for societal changes. And we will explore practical and inspiring ways how to make participation work in cities with a set of our wonderful presenters. With Ximing Huang from Stockholm Environment Institute, Tallinn, we will learn about inclusive participatory methods that you can apply in your work straight away after hearing the presentation. And we will hear examples from the pilots in the cities of Skuodas, Lääne-Harju, and Ustka, where participatory methods are being tested right now through the project Climate Response to strengthen the dialogue between municipalities and local communities, to increase awareness of climate risks and to ensure that vulnerable groups are not left behind. And there was another name dropping, Climate Response. So what's that project about, you might ask? Climate Response comes as an important bridge that this cooperation is building between long-term climate adaptation and a short-term disaster risk reduction. So how can these two concepts be planned more holistically in cities to ultimately unlock climate resilience? This project is led by the Council of the Baltic Sea States, CBSS, building on previous cooperations of projects Cascade and Climalog. And our UBC Sustainable Cities Commission has been actively engaged in all 3. And in Climate Response, we lead the transfer of project solutions to the Baltic Sea region cities so that we could support your overall preparedness through sharing of these methods. And there are many activities taking place in Climate Response. Several cities and regions are piloting different approaches to climate adaptation. The project is developing a digital planning platform for cities. There's a lot of awareness raising. There's a lot of cross-border collaboration between different levels, and also hands-on training on practical strategies to climate resilience. So you might have noticed us at the annual forum of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region just this month. And because we are reaching this very active stage of going out to cities and discussing directly and sharing the experiences. And I added just a bit of a humble attempt to visualize a range of climate response because as I said, different cities are piloting various methods there. But also these methods take various shapes, including how to build cross-sectoral working groups, how to develop inclusive climate adaptation plans, and there are even real field exercises modeling extreme situations. Yeah, maybe that's enough preparedness for now for you. Let's dig deeper. So back to the agenda and just some general information. As you, of course, already noticed, this webinar is recorded. You will reach this recording maybe in a week on our website. And throughout the webinar, we warmly invite you to share your questions through the Q&A box or just write directly in the chat. So yes, to the topic now, when we talk about climate resilience. Let's start with the question, resilience for whom? So Ximin Kwang from Stockholm Environment Institute, Tallinn, please guide us through this process. I will welcome you to the stage and yes, stop sharing.
Thank you, Maria, for the wonderful introduction to today's topic. So to answer the questions of who is overlooked in climate resilience, I think that the very basic questions needs to be asked first is who is climate resilience for? And my name is Shimin Huang, and I'm an expert in the unit of sustainable cities and resilient communities at SCI Tallinn Center. And today's webinar, I will explore this topic with you by first unpacking some of the key concepts around resilience and inclusion, and then we will look at challenges that you face in your own municipal work, introduce the inclusive method guides that we're developing at the moment, and discuss how we can ensure impact. So by the end of this webinar, I do hope that each one of you will live with at least one concrete takeaway that you can apply directly in your daily work. Before we begin, I would like to invite you to a short warm-up activities. So which color best represents how climate response work currently feels in your municipality? So choose A if you feel like the work is really hopeful and things are moving into the right directions. Oh, thank you for the poll. And then choose B if you feel curious and open to learning what other municipalities are doing. And choose C if the work feels urgent but not yet well coordinated across perhaps different departments, sectors, or different levels of governance. And choose D if the work feels like unclear, you're often stuck and under-resourced. And you can also choose multiple ones if zero colors match your experience, like you're blinking like a Christmas tree.
Sharing the
Oh,
results.
wow, amazing. And then we see many of you are curious and open to learning, and not so many of you are actually stuck or under-resourced. That is really good to know. So this color mapping exercise already tells us something really important. Climate resilience work is not only technical, and it is also very institutional, relational, and sometimes emotional. And with that in mind, I would like to open today's webinar by introducing a few key concepts around resilience. So when we talk about resilience, we often use related concepts such as disaster risk reduction planning, climate adaptation planning, and the inclusion of groups vulnerable to climate risks. And these concepts are not separate boxes. They're connected and often overlapped. And hopefully, in your daily work, you do not experience them as separate silos either, perhaps. The definition might be overwhelming, but in simple terms, we can think of climate resilience as a desired outcome and the kind of society we are trying to build. And this is also reflected in the EU adaptation strategy, which sets the goal of becoming climate resilient society by 2050, right? And adaptation and disaster risk reduction planning are two separate complementary pathways towards that outcome. And paying attention to vulnerabilities helps ensure these pathways are inclusive and do not leave the most affected people, places, and ecosystem behind. So in climate resilience, it is about asking, can our city bend without breaking? And think of wheat in a storm. They bend until almost touching the ground and then they bounce back, not broken, not defeated, and get stronger. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Can our communities do the same? Not only can they cope with climate crisis, but swiftly recover, learn, and bouncing forward. This is the core challenge and ultimate goal of climate resilience. Look at this image for a moment. People are not preparing for a flood. They are already standing in one. The water is at their feet. We ask, could this have been prevented? And should this street flood so often? Are our homes, schools, hospitals, and care centers located in safe places? What risks can we prevent, reduce, and what risk must we learn how to cope with or live with? Because the goal is not simply help people standing steadily in the floodwater more safely, but the goal is to reduce how many people have to stand in it at all in the future, right? And look at this image, probably taken in the Netherlands. No one stopped cycling because it rained. They put up ponchos, tuck in their jeans, adjust their pace, and keep moving. That instinct to adjust, not surrender, and is at the heart of climate adaptation. In adaptation planning process, we ask who has a poncho and who does not, and who has safe route and who is forced through this deepest water, who can keep moving and who gets left behind, unfortunately. In other words, we are identifying who and what is most exposed, most vulnerable, and most often overlooked. And then we redesign our cities, our services, so that the next extreme weather event hits, let it be heat wave, flood, drought, or storms, far fewer people will be left out in it alone. Oh, do I hear, oh, what a cute little doggies. Let's begin with that Jack Russell, because he probably already get all of your attention by showing his trust to the women. But he also opens up an important questions. Who is vulnerable here? Is it the woman on the wheelchair? Is it the dog, who may also depends on care and protection? Or is vulnerability actually created by the situations around them or around us, such as like inaccessible routes, extreme heat? I've got a Shih Tzu. He can barely breathe in the summertime, but he's perfectly healthy, by the way. Or emergency warnings that not everybody can receive or act on. And this image also reminds us that vulnerable groups are not one single fixed category. Vulnerability depends on context, on relationship, and it begins in the gap between climate risk and people's responsibilities or people's ability to respond. And this is also why inclusion matters for building climate resilience, because plans, they only work if they reflect the realities of people who face the barriers. So inclusion and its participatory processes are what make climate actions realistic, fair, and effective. But inclusion is also challenging. Some barriers are less visible, such as poverty, language barriers, health conditions, or simply lack of information to participate, right? So the challenge is not only to identify who are vulnerable, but also how to reach out to them and make sure their voices are heard and taken into consideration. The most challenging questions of all might be, how can we actually make sure participation is meaningful and not just symbolic? So let's make these questions a little bit more tangible and connect them to your own experience. What is the biggest challenge to make climate resilience inclusive in your municipality? Or where does inclusion tend to stuck at your work? And choose A if the biggest challenge is identifying and reaching out to vulnerable groups. And choose B if the challenge is turning participation into action, making sure that input from vulnerable groups actually leads to visible changes in plans, in services, or in decisions. And choose C if the challenge is the coordination across municipal departments, connecting climate work with social services, emergency planning, communications, mobility, housing, etc., different topics. And choose D if the challenge is limited time, staff capacities, or funding. In other words, basically not having enough of resources to make inclusion meaningful. And if none of these options captures your dilemma, please choose E and write your answers in the chat. And hopefully from A to D, we covered most of your struggle.
You will see the results now.
Oh, wow. This is a very interesting pool, these two pools. Last pool, not so many people choose limited time or under-resourced. And now we see a lot of you are actually working under staff. So a good news is that these challenges are exactly what we are trying to respond in the Climate Response Project. As part of our project, we are developing a method guide to support municipalities in making climate adaptation and disaster risk reduction planning more inclusive. The guide does not offer one single solution. Instead, it brings together a set of practical methods with step-by-step guidance so that municipalities in the Baltic Sea region can find an approach that fits their specific context, desired level of participation, and also their capacity. And some methods might support lighter form of engagement, while others are designed for deeper collaboration and co-creation. The idea is that wherever your municipality currently is, you can find a method that is suitable and useful. And to make the guide easiest to grasp in this short webinar, the methods are organized by the 4 challenges we just identified. For example, when the challenge is reaching vulnerable groups, there are methods to help find missing voices. When coordination across different departments is difficult, there are methods to support shared and place-based understanding and solutions. Some of these methods have already been tested in our pilot activities, and others are scheduled for use later this year. So whichever challenge that you select earlier, the idea is that there is a method that can help your municipality take the next practical step. So in the next few slides, we will look more closely how these methods can help address each of the challenges. Let's start with the awareness raising campaigns. In the picture, we see people gathering in public space, children participating in the event, family watching, the community coming together. And this reminds us that awareness does not only happen in official meetings. It can happen where people already are at the local events, schools, libraries, local newspapers, or through even SMS and social media. Paulina later will showcase a very well-designed awareness-raising campaign in Ustka, which use attractive graphic and clear visuals to communicate the message. The key point here is not to rely only on digital channels, but also because some vulnerable groups may be harder to reach online. The method of training, on the other hand, it goes one step further. It helps people build practical skills such as first aid practice, preparedness exercise, or train-the-trainer programs. In our Lääne-Harju pilot, for example, training were used to reach kindergarten teachers, social workers, and local communities. You will hear more from the following presentation. So in a nutshell, awareness helps people see and understand the risk, and training helps people know how to prepare for it and what to do. Both stakeholder mapping and key informant interviews help us to find the missing voices, because to make our planning process more inclusive, the question is not only who is already in the room, more importantly, who is not here yet and why. The image captures that idea really nicely. That's why I chose it. We see people gather around, map, adding notes, pointing, sorting, and making connections. It reminds us that inclusion often starts with making the invisible visible. Who is affected? Who has influence? Who holds local knowledge? And who may be overlooked? Stakeholder mapping is very foundational. It helps municipalities to see the full picture. One-on-one meetings or consultations can be especially helpful too when the topic is a bit sensitive or we need context-specific insights from people who know the community well, like the community leader, for example. And let's talk about the climate walk, which makes risk visible in places where people actually experience them. Instead of talking about heat, flood, accessibility in abstract, participants can point to the specific places and say, hey, here is where water collects. And this route is difficult during heat because it's lack of greenery. Or this space feels unsafe during, I don't know, this and that. Participatory workshops create a space to bring these experiences together, and they can be used to discuss future scenarios, prioritize adaptation measures, and build shared understanding and ownership. And then we have serious gaming, which sounds really playful. Ustka is experienced that, and it can be a powerful planning tool as well. Games allow participants to step into different roles, experience uncertainty, and understand competing priorities. So in a nutshell, participatory workshops help people think together, climate walks help people see risks together, and serious gaming help people experience decision together. Finally, we come to the method that most clearly link participation to decision, the green participatory budget. And this method responds to a very common frustrations in participation processes. People are invited to share ideas, but then they do not always see what happens afterward. And the green participatory budget helps close that gap. It makes participation visible, concrete, and connected to implementation. And this image also gives us a good sense of what this can look like in practice. The result could be a shaded public spaces with trees, cooling points, or nature-based solutions with urban furnitures, for example. Now, with all these inclusive methods overview in mind, you may already be thinking, which one could we try next in our municipalities? And that is exactly the right thought. But how do we know whether participation actually make a difference? And this is where monitoring and evaluation becomes really important. We want to understand the value of process, what worked, what did not work, and who did we manage to reach, whose voices were still missing, and most importantly, did the process help improve climate resilience in a meaningful way? In climate response projects, we capture this through two sets of survey in every pilot event, one for participants and the other one for organizers. And both surveys are based on our proposed monitoring and evaluation framework for participatory policy processes. And this framework is informed by 58 scientific publications. And the participant survey tells us how the process felt from inside. Did people feel heard? Was the process fair and accessible? Did they understand climate risks better? Did they feel that they contribute their knowledge and experience effectively? And on the other hand, the organizer survey gives us the other side of the story. It helps us understand what was practical for the local municipalities and which methods were easy to use. Or maybe when you don't have so much of resources, like they could be used effectively too, where the difficulties appear and how the method guide can be even more improved. So this is not about evaluating participation as a box-ticking exercise. It is about iterative learning processes. And this is a short demo of the organizer survey that we use after each pilot event. The purpose here is to show how we build this iterative learning into the climate response project. In other words, we do not treat the method guide as something fixed. We test the method, we collect feedback, and we learn from what happened and then use those insights to improve our guide. The organizer survey includes, here you can see, yes, 6 questions. These questions help us understand what worked well, what was difficult, and how the methods can become more practical, relevant, and useful for local authorities. So if there is one takeaway from today, this is it. Please follow our climate response project for more updates. The method guide will be available soon, by the end of this year, I assumed, and it will also be translated into different languages so then it can become a practical and accessible resources for many of you. And I would say that you are especially lucky today because we have invited our pilot case studies here to share their experiences directly. So in a way, you will already get a small preview of what is coming in the method guide. With that, I'm very pleased to welcome Skuodas District Municipality and Klaipėda Region, Victoria. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Shannon. So hi everyone, my name is Victoria and I represent Association Klaipėda Region. We're based in Lithuania, the most western part of the Baltic shore in Lithuania. So right now you're seeing a slide of the western part of Lithuania. That's Klaipėda region. So we as an association, we do represent 6 municipalities and we do work with different international and regional cooperation. We coordinate regional specialization strategy within which we have a big part on the development of the region as well as the climate response goals, and also we are ensuring the smooth implementation of the accessibility and awareness program. So a big part of our work is strengthening regional tourism policy and developing international partnerships and projects, and that's where we come in here with Climate Response Project. For this project, our pilot district is actually Skuodas district. It's the most northern district of the region. It borders Latvia, and I saw there are some Latvian participants in this webinar. It's also one of the smallest districts that we have, and it has an aging population. As you can see on the slide, the total population is around 1,600, and the local economy does rely a lot on agriculture and forestry, and around 30% of people are over 65. So this is an aging district, and our in this project, our piloting vulnerable group that we have identified that we will work with and concentrate mostly on is actually elderly people over 65. But how did we reach this part? As you have heard from Shimin, there are several methods, and we have actually applied a couple of them. We have already organized 3 workshops, and we started with the first workshop that was actually gathering people together. So through the colleagues at the Skuodas municipality, we gathered a small group of people from both municipality, from a couple of NGOs, from other institutions in Skuodas that reach out to people. And we did a workshop exactly on what Shimin was telling just a couple of minutes ago on stakeholder mapping and who's not in the room. So during that workshop, we were able to identify who are the people that could reach out to the vulnerable groups, who are the people who can identify the vulnerable groups. We already started talking what could be the vulnerable groups and started mapping that out. And so that was the first workshop that we did. During the second workshop, We already had a larger group of people. We had municipal administration representatives, healthcare, transport services, water supplier, and then senior community representatives and a couple of other representatives from different spheres and institutions in Skuodas district. And during the second workshop, we actually broke down and identified what are the main risks as the Skuodas community in this room see. So we had an exercise on risk identification. Then we looked at how to deconstruct those risks so that they could be manageable and where Skuodas district can have an impact or solution and where it's outside of their limitations. And then also we worked on identifying vulnerable groups. We worked on looking at how the vulnerable groups and the infrastructure works within different risks. So examined what the data says for Skuodas district. And after the session, we actually came out with a pretty good roadmap on what are the risks that are seen by the stakeholders in the municipality and what are the vulnerable groups. And in the third workshop, we wanted to take a step further and already look at some of the methods how we can include the vulnerable groups. For this workshop, we also wanted to see how does the official data and the academic knowledge and research match what the locals see as risks. So it was a really interesting workshop. We had, again, municipal administration, but it was not only from Skuodas, but also from the neighboring districts of Klaipėda district and Šilutė district. So there were neighboring municipalities who also participated in the workshop. There were researchers, academics, and we did vulnerability mapping. So we looked at the groups that were identified in the second workshops and then asked the academia and researchers and people from the Hydrometeorological Center and Environmental Ministry, what's missing? Are those the groups that you also see in your research? Or do we have additional groups that Skuodas districts from within sees? Also, we looked at the different engagement pathways, so how to reach those groups. What are the means of reaching them? Is this social media? Is this the local representatives that then they report back to the municipality? And what are the ways to actually, what would be the best way to reach the vulnerable group and to convey the message to work further? We also looked at what could be a realistic implementation timeline. We realized that we will not be able to reach every single vulnerable group. That's where we decided that 65 plus is the group that we will be working with, because this is the largest group in Skuodas. There are also many people living outside in the small homesteads in the forest. And so how are they engaged? And also, what is the realistic implementation timeline? So we're moving slowly but surely. What we have done so far is we identified the risks. We know how the risks, if the same risks are seen by the official researchers and the official national institutions and how they match. We have mapped out the vulnerable groups. We have selected which group we will be piloting the experience with within this project, and we have defined the communication channels. What we have to do next within the summer and the fall, we are currently actually collecting data on the vulnerable groups. We are looking and mapping out the channels to engage. We'll be providing awareness training and raising for the people who are the immediate contact to the vulnerable groups and who can convey the message. And we will be making sure to include the representatives from our workshops into the climate adaptation and response working group that will be leading an exercise later on climate resilience adaptation, as well as participating in the preparation of the climate resilience adaptation plan. So what works? Including all the stakeholders and enabling the communities for us has been the biggest reward. We have already heard the community members saying that right now they feel much more heard and included, because usually what happened, they would hear about the climate planning from the national level or from the municipality level, but right now they do feel that they have a voice, and in that way they also feel more responsible into actually implementing it. And also, it bridges the gap between the scientific data and what's there actually on the ground. So it does create the dialogue, and most importantly, ensures the community voices being heard. And also it does kind of foster the shared sense of ownership. And I do believe that this the process is slow, much slower than probably we're used to in the document preparation, but the inclusivity does help within the community. But definitely there are challenges, and our biggest challenge is probably also right now how to involve national institutions. We have good relationship with the Ministry of the Environment, with the hydrometeorological center, but at the same time, and the firefighters have participated in our workshops, but other institutions, because they're also doing some work, sometimes they see this as a double maybe work, and but having the dialogue with the local communities, we need to kind of work a little bit harder to persuade them to come everyone into the one room, and we know how busy everyone is these days, right? And especially before summer coming in. Also, we saw that there's definitely need for more education on climate risks. The community doesn't know or identify that climate risks can be real. So awareness raising is important. In Lithuania, in bigger cities, we do have volunteering culture building up. In smaller districts, it's a little bit less. People still rely in crisis. They do help their neighbor, but there are no organized volunteering networks, not that much. So this is a big gap too. There's also a mismatch between what locals and experts identify as risks. And the bridge needs to be kind of made just because there are different perspectives, there are different vocabularies that people use to express their ideas. So we do feel that having those conversations in the workshops is a very big positive for helping one and the other understand and see in one direction. Also creating cross-departmental or institutional trusts, especially, and processes, and that's also what you have identified, I think, in one of the surveys today. But also in all of the workshops, we invite to participate other municipalities from Klaipėda region. Many of them are also working on preparing the climate adaptation plans, but inclusion of vulnerable groups and hearing their voice is maybe not the priority. So we do want them to learn from the process. Like you are learning today online, we want them to learn in person and participate and bring that back to their municipalities and practice. And so this is it from me today. If you are interested to hear more or maybe participate in some of the workshops, if you are in the neighboring municipality, here are me and the project managers, my colleagues' contact details. And I think I'll give the word then to one of my other colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Very interesting insights and very perfect step-by-step guide on mapping stakeholders, confirming the data. Super relatable challenges. So I'm sure we all eagerly cheer for your successes in the piloting and would be eager to hear how do you overcome them, because it's a very impressive work. Yes, so now we got to know about some participatory methods, and let's discover how to effectively establish the dialogue between municipality and communities. And I welcome to the stage Eva-Liis Kunzujev from Lääne-Harju municipality in Estonia.
Yes, hello everybody. I am from Lääne-Harju municipality, and I'm telling you a little bit about how we establish dialogue with the vulnerable communities. Then I will tell you a little bit about Lääne-Harju municipality first. It is located in northern Estonia. As you can see, very, very beautiful place in Estonia. It is 645 square kilometers, has 14,000 inhabitants, and we have 52 settlements, one town, which is called, we have 6 small boroughs. We have 46 villages, and we have one town, Paldiski, which is known as a port city and industrial hub. And we are also known as a green municipality in Estonia, so that is why climate-related topics are very important for us as well. I have included here a quote from our mayor, but I will come back to this later on the slides to show why I feel it's important and what is important there. Our project, or the goal of our project is, of course, very simple. It's to increase the awareness of climate-related risks and to be prepared for different crisis situations, like heavy rain, snow, storms, loss of electricity, wildfires, etc. And especially we are, as already was mentioned before, we are also hoping to increase the volunteering network and to enhance the cooperation between different stakeholders. And so that people are always engaged and they are included in the preparedness and in the activities as well, if needed. And last but not least, it is also to support our climate and energy plan through stronger local climate resilience. Here I go back to this quote that we had from our mayor that says that the spirit of our municipality is shaped by its people, their care, their courage, and their real wish to make things better. So this is what is very important when we started with the workshops. It's always, I would really say it's not difficult at all to engage people. When you have a workshop or activity, people are really eager to learn. They are willing to participate and they are interested in making things better in the municipality and to show their engagement and to be part of what we are doing. So this is what I really feel like. Usually the quotes are being commercial or just being nice words about the places, but here it's really about the people, and the people really give the face to the municipality, and that's what we have seen on the workshops as well. So for us, it's very well. As said, it's easy to establish the contact because there is a strong communication between different community groups. There is a very strong trust in municipality, and people are engaged. People want to show that if they are involved, that they will share it with others, and that the involvement gets bigger. And also, when we have this, when we want to establish dialogue with different groups, it's important for us that the workshops are taking place in familiar places so that people feel cozy, they feel open, they feel that it's not formal, but they are, like feeling at home and being part of the kind of the community, so that they feel better when it's not that formal. Let's go to the target groups then. We also, as mentioned, also different methods. We also started first with the mapping, of course, to understand who is the target group and who are the vulnerable groups in our municipality. And it doesn't come as a surprise, but of course, elderly people are in focus because if you are living in this Spears area, it's always or most likely the old people who are living alone, especially, or maybe in the isolated areas, that they are mostly vulnerable during different crises or emergencies, like when you have a storm or you have a power outage. So they are our main target group as well. But then we also included children and kindergarten teachers, because we feel that it's very important to start with early education. And it's like when people or children are educated, it influences the family, and families also know a little bit better. So it's very good to have the kindergarten teachers to be prepared and to understand that one of the groups who are vulnerable in different situations are families with children, and they need to be prepared as well. And in these workshops, we have also included our social workers, because they are not the vulnerable group, but they are the direct access to vulnerable individuals when we have a crisis situation. These workshops, they have been actually a learning process for us as well. When we started with the workshops, we felt, or we treated every vulnerable group as one single category, but actually we found out that inside these groups, not everybody feels the same way we feel. So when we are saying that you are a vulnerable group, they actually may not have seen themselves as vulnerable. And for some, maybe it comes as a surprise. For us, for some, maybe not. There are some elderly citizens who are saying that they actually do not need to be prepared for crisis, because they have overlived Soviet times and they can manage everything. It sounds a little bit funny, or maybe a lot of joke, but actually it really means that they have dealt with different crises quite a lot, and they have knowledge that we may not have. So when we see that they are the older generation need crisis and crisis guidance, they are actually themselves very keen to participate and share their knowledge on these subjects. So what we are hoping to do maybe later in this year is to have a workshop where we give lead to the elderly or the older generation. So it's going to be an intergenerational workshop, so that they will share actually their knowledge and teach us, not the other way. So this is one thing that we learned from the workshops. What we chose then for the main approach at the moment was awareness raising campaign. What we did is that we had different groups. We had the kindergarten teachers, we had social workers, and we had older generation. We used the main idea, or the basic was the same, but it had to be a little bit tailored, because when it's older people, then you have some topics that are more relevant. When you have kindergarten teachers, the other topics are relevant. So we want it to be more tailored, so that everybody feels that it's relevant exactly for them. And that is why we felt that we started with the everyday discussions, so that they could build up the relevance, and they could share the information on their daily lives. And is it the same that they are thinking, what we are thinking, so that we can understand what the shared concerns are, what topics are, what are interesting them the most. So it really was it was very nice and open workshops. But again, it was a learning process, and I feel that it worked well. We haven't, of course, received yet the survey data from the participants, so we don't really know their reaction from the surveys. But I feel that we got relevant feedback and we got information. But as we are a very innovative municipality, and the people also innovative, we felt that maybe it should have been more engaging and more interesting to use another method. So as Shimin also mentioned, this climate walk, I feel that our municipality could have been the right participant to use climate walk as an approach. Because as told, like you can see, like this is the path you can't take when it's heat waves. This is the way where you can have water fountains. So it's so we are learning what is working and what is not working that well. But still, that is said, we gathered a lot of information from the from the groups, and we felt that what is important from them for next step in our pilot. So we are now doing flyers for our kindergartens so that they can share with the families, and families can know what is needed when you have, for example, heat wave. Maybe it's very basic things, but it's something that you don't think every day. So it's very good to have just a small reminder. And the same with the older generation. They said what they need, like, for example, to have on a flyer on the fridge that is saying, in case of this and this crisis, you need to be prepared with this and this. So actually it worked quite well, but still I feel that we may be a little bit more innovative the next time. And coming to the conclusion, we felt that in establishing the dialogue, it was really important to have the personal contacts. And I don't mean like not contacts like somebody, but the contacts between communities. So that if one community is involved, that the other one wants to be involved. So they are really, and when the invitations are coming from the community people are more likely to join and take part. And also the familiar settings, like when we had the workshops in cozy environments, it opened the dialogue, and it is nice for people to discuss in in a warm environment. And also we learned that trust is very important. Like you can have a very formal role in the crisis situation, and you can brand the institutions, but still you need to have like this trust towards municipality or between different communities. So this is what is working. And the next slide shows some of the challenges we had. It's first of all, it's people have different mindsets, people have different opinions, and also different levels of preparedness. So although we use different approaches, or like we had one awareness raising campaign, but we, as told, there are different levels. So we could have divided the groups, like people who are really prepared, they could be more engaged, like in a different level, in a maybe a more participatory workshop, and people who have no knowledge at all, they could have been used like this in this presentation kind of workshop. So, and also, as we all know, there are several crises all the time happening. People are a little bit tired of crisis talks. So sometimes it may be a little bit overwhelming to talk about crisis again. And then there's, of course, the limited time and capacity, both for organizing and participating. But this is always a problem, but we can manage this little challenge or problem, how to call it. And also, like when we have this dispersed settlement, it's harder for people to access the activities, and you need to find one place where to have the workshop. But when you don't have transportation, then everybody can't come there, and you can't have this everywhere. Yes. And the last slide, maybe a very basic thing that we learned about the establishing the dialogue. But really, we feel that preparedness starts with dialogue, because people engage, they act, and they stay prepared when they feel that, first of all, they understand themselves what is happening, and when they feel that they are understood and their needs are understood, and they are prepared when they stay included. So this is for me, everything for now.
Thank you so much, Evelise. Yes. Now we have all of the keys to success. So contact between the communities, cozy environments, and trust. Super inspirational. Thank you very much. And I think it's very, the most inspiring, of course, is like how you can demonstrate the true empowerment and really have the environment where people themselves can lead this process. I think it's a beautiful example. So thank you so much for sharing this with us today. And we have today the third example, local example from the pilot in Ustka, Poland, where the city in cooperation with the association Pomorskie in the European Union is implementing versatile and inspiring measures for better participation. Yes, Paulina Alexander will tell us all about it. Welcome to the stage, Paulina.
Thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. My name is Paulina Alexander, and I'm representing Pomorskie in the European Union Association. And today I will talk to you about our climate response pilot activities that we are implementing in Ustka. And first point on my agenda is a short introduction to what Pomorskie in the European Union Association is. It's a regional partnerships that unites local governments from Pomorskie region, as well as public universities, various institutions and organizations in the region. And our mission is to support regional development and promote positive image of the region, both in Poland and in Europe. So what's important here is that we are not a decision maker. We are an NGO with 32 regular members, which are local governments, and 20 supporting members, so universities, cultural institutions, and others. We have two offices, one local office in Gdańsk, and the second Pomorskie Regional EU office in Brussels. And what's worth mentioning here is also that the chair of the board is always the president of the region. And this is about Pomorskie in the EU in short. And now I'd like to move on to Ustka. Ustka is a small seaside town located in northern part of Poland at the mouth of the Supia River. So it borders the sea to the north, and to the south it is surrounded by forests. And what is worth highlighting is that it's a port town and it is officially recognized as a health resort, and it holds the international blue flag status for its beaches. So as a result, the city is legally obligated to actively protect and maintain its therapeutic conditions. But on the other hand, Ustka is a very touristic place, and its local economy is strongly based on it. And a couple of data is that the population of Ustka is around 30,000 of residents. It's also an aging population, and as I said, it's very busy tourist and health resort destination. And in last year, there were nearly 7 million visits in 2025. During the summer, it was around 60,000 of visitors per day. And the highest number of visitors that stayed in Ustka occurred during the middle of August, during the weekend of 15th and 17th, when the town was visited by an average of 130,000 of visitors per day. And what is worth mentioning here is also that because the city lies at the mouth of Supia River, it is divided into two parts, east and west side. There is only one main road that connects the town with a larger urban center, the city of Słupsk, in this area, which is located just a few kilometers away. And it has only one private ambulance. And during the summer, there are two of them. And this is also in short to give you an overview of the context. And right now I'd like to move on to the main part of my presentation, which is testing the set of methods for engaging civil society in climate resilience planning. And here our main goals are increasing Ustka's climate resilience through education, increasing residents and tourists' awareness of potential risks and threats and adaptation measures, increasing cooperation between local stakeholders, and also sort of relaunching the Green Ustka program. This is a green participatory budget initiative launched a few years ago, which enables the residents to propose ideas for creating or revitalizing green spaces, but also the program supports educational activities related to climate adaptation. But despite the fact that Ustka town municipality has implemented this Green Ustka program, public participation remains very low. So within Climate Response project, we aim to raise awareness of this green participatory budgeting initiative and opportunities that it gives to its residents. And what we did during the preparation period was holding several meetings with representatives from Ustka town municipality, local public services, and local NGOs. Also, a dedicated working group was established within Ustka town municipality, which includes representatives from various departments. And all of those activities, this dialogue with different stakeholders, helped us indicate local needs, explore cooperation structures, and recognize stakeholders for our pilot activities. We also identified vulnerable groups in Ustka, which are seniors, health resort patients, tourists, including those from abroad, especially from Czech Republic and Germany, children, people with disabilities, and pregnant women. And based on that, we developed a tailored pilot plan that includes an awareness raising campaign, 2 local workshops, and supporting materials designed to increase awareness among residents and tourists. And right now, I would like to go through each of them more broadly. So let me start with an awareness raising campaign. This is an activity that we are conducting on 2 main communication channels. So in Goniec Ustecki, this is a local newspaper, and on dedicated subpage on the Ustka municipality website. We also prepare series of educational posts on Facebook pages of Ustka town municipality, and the implementation looks like this, that each month as Pomorskie in the EU, we providing Ustka with the content for articles covering project topics. And for example, when we launched the campaign, we introduced the Climate Response project and explained basic terms related to climate adaptation and disaster risk reduction. In April, we highlighted what Ustka is already doing in this area and how residents can contribute. And for example, in May edition, we summarized our April workshop and introduced educational materials that I will be telling you more about in a second. And while preparing the content, we are consulting it with our colleagues from Ustka town municipality, one who works in the environmental department, and also with the spokesperson. So this ensures that the information that we publish are confirmed, double-checked, and also approved by the local authority. And as mentioned, we have prepared supporting materials for Ustka to enhance awareness amongst residents and tourists. And there are 3 of them. The first one, the checklist for preparing for extreme weather events and emergency situations. This is a compact guide for residents. It's simple, practical, and based on the safety handbook of the Polish Ministry of National Defense. And it includes tips on how to secure your home, what supplies to stock, and how to prepare an emergency evacuation backpack. The second one, so what to do in case of, this is as a double-sided leaflet with a map of Ustka and clear instructions on how to act during extreme weather events. We have indicated important contacts and locations, including the police, Ustka City Guard, fire station, medical points, evacuation points, and also local tourism information centers. So it's useful for residents as well as tourists and spa visitors. And the last one is the tourist code. It's a poster dedicated to increase awareness among tourists and health resort patients. And here you can see our awareness raising campaign in different locations in Ustka. And what's worth mentioning here is that as Pomorskie in the EU, we have drafted materials, but they were consulted with our stakeholders a couple of times, so they contributed to the final versions. And right now, I will move to our workshops, one that have been already conducted and the one that is ahead of us. So the first one that we have conducted in April was a crisis response training for emergency services, the tourism sector, and public administration. And here we cooperated with the State Fire Service Training Center, the regional headquarters of the State Fire Service in Gdańsk, and municipal headquarters of the State Fire Service in Słupsk. And we had 2 parts of this workshop. In the first one, we had an introduction session, a fire response training using mobile fire hazard simulators, during which participants learned how to protect their homes and loved ones from fires and carbon monoxide. And a house model and a forest and lake model illustrated how seemingly harmless everyday situations can quickly turn into serious threats. And the second part was led by municipal headquarters of the State Fire Service in Słupsk. It was a crisis response training session based on emergency scenario. We used a decision-making exercise, Storm in Ustka, during which teams faced a series of challenges and had to respond quickly to rapidly changing situation. And this actually allowed participants to practice decision-making under pressure and effective cooperation in demanding conditions. And our objectives of the training were to strengthen crisis response skills, increase climate awareness, and enhance cooperation between emergency services, public administration, public institutions, and local businesses. And such initiatives are especially important in tourist destinations where safety actually of both residents and visitors must be planned in advance and addressed in a coordinated manner. So this is it regarding this first workshop, and the last part is a workshop that we are planning to conduct in late June in the format of urban game on climate resilience. This is a workshop that will be conducted in cooperation with Ustka Public Services And our goal is to increase awareness on climate resilience. And the concept we prepared is a detective-style adventure where players learn how to protect the city from impacts of climate change and disaster risk reduction. And participants become climate resilience agents and investigate why Ustka is losing its climate resilience. So they explore the city, complete missions, and collect clues and identify the saboteur. We have prepared 6 climate saboteurs. For example, this Mr. Concrete you can see on the slide. Interactive tasks across the city, clues and missions for participants to solve. And as the workshop will be run with support from local services and public administration, we have this local engagement factor. So local services and administration will guide and educate participants on the game stations. And actually, this is it from my side. And thank you for your attention. And I give the floor back to Maria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paulina, for the wonderful presentation and also for the very engaging hints on gamification of this public engagement. So it's also very, very interesting ways to, to make people act really and realize maybe the situation of crisis and how to approach it. Yes, we've got today a set of very inspiring, very passionate presentations with so many strong messages. I was just noting them down. I guess I'll reuse them for, I don't know, t-shirt printing that don't leave people and ecosystems behind, adjust and not surrender. We learned today about the importance of the shared sense of ownership, but also a need for the shared vocabulary. We know now how important it is to build the trust between communities and cities, but also we know we are now equipped with methods for it. Yeah, you might think that's enough, but there is still some more that climate response can offer. Can my screen sharing offer it? Now I think it can. So just a few more words on this topic, because Climate Response Project recently ran a survey where we discovered that already 96% of cities actually experienced an extreme weather event in the past 10 years. So we're not talking here so much about planning for scenarios will it happen or not. It's rather a clear sign that all cities need to be prepared for this, need to be adapted to this. So make sure you know where to find the tools and methods for it whenever you need it. In Climate Response Project, there were some materials and events already mentioned, some not yet. So make sure to be part of our discussions. We have this method guide that was presented as the very first presentation of today. It's going to be published by the end of this year, and it's going to be translated to the local languages of the region. So make sure to track this down to take this into use. Join the local events that different cities that are piloting different activities in the project are organizing, because some of them are inclusive and do welcome other external participants. We're also going to have several replication workshops starting next year in Poland, Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia. So also make sure that you stay tuned and check the website. That you're not missing any of the opportunities to discuss this with the expert of the project. And also, as a very low threshold entry, our commission is now running a communication campaign about climate resilience, which we started I think, just a month ago, and we will continue for a year, bringing to you some key regional discussions and concepts. And you can follow it through the hashtags Climate Roadshow and Climate Response in social media. So this is a glimpse of what we offer as the international consortium of local, regional, and national authorities and experts. So whether you work yourself in urban planning, in climate units, in emergency preparedness, in community development, I hope that today's presentations offered you some useful tools, some inspiring ideas for creating more inclusive and more resilient cities. And I would like to very warmly thank all our glorious speakers today for the truly, truly inspiring, truly very lovely presentations that offered us very concrete steps for replicating this success in other cities. And of course, I would like to warmly wish every success to you, the piloting cities, in continuing on this path and hopefully overcoming all possible challenges and letting the region know how to do that. And that's the very last thing for today. So today's webinar is, as I said at the beginning, is part of the ongoing series. And the next UBC Talks would be coming in September, where we will discuss the element of urban mobility and how it influences the process of reaching climate neutrality, how to solve those challenges. So thank you all very much for today, and stay tuned with all of these opportunities.